and I'm here talking about Mars in Cancer. So when Mars is in Cancer, of course, as many people know, that's the sign of debilitation. So the debilitated sign is the one where it tends to not function in its highest sense. With Mars, Mars is that force of will that is like our energy in the moment, like that vibrating, pulsating organism, animal nature that is directed and focused toward our goals. And you can notice Mars as the integrity of your actions, and especially in the moment to get where you're going. The Sun is the integrity of our identity, to stay on course, like a consistent action and a consistent power and vision. Mars is sort of doing that in the moment. So this is why it says the Sun is the king and Mars is the general of the army. He's like the one who is putting the king's marching orders into place, right? Do this, don't do that. And the integrity to be disciplined and to be principled enough to do the right thing, which is not always the easy thing. In fact, it's often not the easiest thing. And the willingness to suffer for our principles because we know it's the right thing, maybe not necessarily the easiest thing, we're able to do it. We're willing to do it. So when Mars is in Cancer, Cancer is a sign of wanting to, in many ways, just be happy. Happiness is more related to Venus, but it's really to be comfortable, because Cancer is ruled by the Moon, which is really the planet of comfort and safety, emotional happiness and peace. And Mars, when it's in Cancer, that edge, that discipline, that willingness to suffer for our principles becomes less clear to us. One of the things I say about the Moon, which is the ruler of Cancer, is it's sort of like the great kind of veto pen. In the American system of government, the president can veto a bill. He can just say, nope, I veto this. All that work that came before, the president could just veto it and say, well, no, we're not going to do it. And the Sun and the Moon, and by extension the sign of Cancer, is sort of like that veto pen, where we might wake up and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And then we go to do it and we're like, nah, I don't feel like it now. And think about how much or how often that explanation is good enough. I changed my mind. I don't feel like it now. I don't feel like it. And this whole I don't feel like it now really dominates a lot of our life, actually. How many times you set off to do something, but then you don't feel like it when the moment arrives, so you just don't do it, and over it, on and on it goes, particularly with things that are not easy, like let's say, working out, exercising, getting up really, extra early to do our spiritual practices. Or let's say, instead of watching that last hour of TV before bed, turning off the TV and meditating. I don't feel like it. I'm going to keep watching this. I'm going to sleep a little longer. I worked out yesterday. I don't feel like it now. We might even get everything ready, and still we can do that, and we don't feel like, geez, I'm worthless. What a worthless, right? So it's a real quality of our mind and life that we just say, I don't feel like it now. So what's really kind of happening there is we're sliding on our discipline. Mars is the energy to, again, do the thing whether we feel like it or not. You say, I don't feel like it now, but I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I'm going to push through it. I don't care that it's going to be difficult and I got to get up and get everything together and go there and then... It's the part of us that says, I know that after I do this, I'm going to feel much better. Physically, emotionally, psychologically than if I don't. And often what happens, like for instance when Mars is in the opposite sign of Capricorn, where it's exalted, we wind up doing those things because of the psychological pain and the kind of feeling of worthlessness and the guilt of not doing it. It's a motivator. It's a motivating factor, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. Meaning, when Mars is in Capricorn, that I don't feel like it now kind of quality, when we do that, we feel the pressure of Saturn going, you're worthless. You're wasting your time. That pressure of Saturn overcomes that I don't feel like it now attitude. When Mars is in Cancer, we can tend to just be like, that tendency can be pretty strong. So, not always. There are many things at play. So I'm not just going to talk about the debility and the problem of Mars in Cancer, because I've often seen and also seen, because there is such a focus on that, that becomes a very prominent theme in the person's life. And in fact, I've seen many times planets in difficult dignity like that become more focused, and they become even more disciplined. In fact, they become hyper-disciplined to overcompensate for that nature. There are several powerful athletes who have debilitated Mars. Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, both have debilitated Mars, I'm pretty sure. Right? Who would say they're not disciplined, right? And so it goes to show that it's not just that physical discipline and that quality of what I'm describing. It can also be a tendency and an ability to choose our battles wisely. And again, when Mars is in Cancer, we tend to not learn from our wins and losses. Again, it's easy to say, well, of course, for Michael Jordan, Mars is a good planet. It's certainly good in that it helped him become successful. He also has an Aries ascendant, so it's a Raja Yoga planet. There's a lot that makes him successful because of that Mars. But one could also argue that he, as an example, has a kind of runaway sense of competition. Now, again, it made him very successful, so we can say, well, but he became Michael Jordan. How can that not be anything but good? Well, we don't live inside the man's head, but many have observed that Michael has a tendency to be kind of, petty and childish. If you want to look up something interesting, look at his Hall of Fame speech. It was kind of widely razzed because most people, when they give a speech to go into the Hall of Fame, they're very grateful. Michael Jordan was up giving a speech to go into the Hall of Fame, and he was still competing and still settling scores, which is a sign of a Mars that's like, you don't know when to stop fighting at times. So again, when Mars is in Cancer, there can be just issues around knowing how to fight the good fight. If it's in the sky, like when it's a transit, a month and a half to 2 month transit, usually, then that's going to be a time when we are indiscriminate and random in our battles. We don't know which battles to fight, which battles to let go of. We can be too emotional about those battles. Again, like the Michael Jordan example, watch the speech. You can just Google Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech, and you'll see he's very emotional about things that happened when he was in high school, even, or scores that he wanted to settle when he was a pro, and talking about things. If you know the history a little bit, you'll see he's talking about the former owner of the Bulls, and you said this, and and he's still like fighting. And one of the most prominent headlines that I saw after that was, said, Michael, you won. You're the greatest. Stop fighting. You won. Right? It's like, even when you win, you don't win. And that can be the case with a Mars that's not powerful in that sense. That even when you win, emotionally, you're still restless. And this is what Mars is. It's the restlessness to feel like I still have to conquer something, that I have to conquer something external. The highest quality of Mars is that internal conquering, that willingness to face our internal struggle. Again, this is why those qualities of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and learning through our painful mistakes, the willingness to destroy our own difficulties becomes, it can really elevate that nature of Mars to want to fight and destroy, so that we don't destroy our own emotional peace and our own connection to the heart, which is the sign of Cancer. So those struggles, life struggles, can become very emotional, which is a way to understand it when it's in Cancer. And it's better that life's struggles are not emotional. Again, you can really contrast the debility with the exaltation. We're not supposed to be emotional about all the struggles. I can get into fights with people and battle, but I can just see it as part of life's struggle. I'll win, I'll lose. It's all just part of the struggle, which is that Saturn Capricorn awareness. The Cancer awareness is, but it hurts. But no, it's not. It's not just part of life's ups and downs. It's how I feel, and if I feel it, it's real. It becomes very emotional. So, again, when we have that transit in the sky every couple of years, it can be a time of a lot of emotional struggles. If it's in someone's natal chart, you'll notice they have that quality, and they might be very disciplined, very, I'm going to do it. If they think it's going to make them feel bad, when they don't do it, then they'll be very disciplined. But then, on the other side, there can be that kind of indiscriminate nature and having some confusion about which battle is worth fighting. And in all cases, it has no bearing on the level of accomplishment and achievement, because that's not shown by the planet in the sign. The level of accomplishment and achievement is shown by yogas and when karmas ripen and all that stuff. So, in general, Mars in Cancer, emotional battles, literally emotional Cancer, Mars battles, needing to choose those battles wisely and learn from our ups and downs, and not take the wins and losses so personally.